Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker and I'm your host. And you know that I am working hard so that you can work smarter. I know that sounds, Well, I'm working smarter by finding great guests for you, and that's going to help you to work smarter and to take back time. And today I'm super excited to have Scott Hallman with me. Scott and I actually worked together a number of years ago with Business Breakthroughs. It was a joint venture between Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes. And he shared his Profit Now strategy, trained the entire coaching staff on just that, how to help entrepreneurs and business leaders to work smarter so that they can profit more. Just a little bit about Scott. He's focused on helping rapidly growing companies with helping their CEOs to accelerate growth, maximize profits, and build business value, as well as create great companies. I know he's got a new book coming out he's going to tell you about. And he's also been named to the Inc. 500 list of America's fastest growing privately held companies. So, without further ado, Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Penny. Thank you. I love the theme. It's just really great. We all need to learn how to take back our time, don't we? More than ever.
Absolutely. And right now I'm working on we're going to take back our focus because we are in a focus crisis at the moment. So that's part of it as well.
No doubt.
So, Scott, you're the profit guy to me, right? I've always known you as, the profit guy. I just want to know, is that something you were always born with, to hone in on sort of what's most important in optimizing and profitability? Or how did you get this skill that you have?
Well, it was a good question. It's actually thrown on me, right? So I graduated from college. I started a job and things were going really, really well. And I had dreamed of starting this business. And I left. I just left all at once and jumped in. And I was an entrepreneur overnight, no experience, no money, didn't know anybody with money. And my idea took off, and it took off big. And we began to scale. And I didn't have money to hire the right people. I didn't have money to be able to float the receivables that we had. So I had to focus in on optimization to get every dollar out of everything we do from day one. So it's really more, quite honestly, of survival.
Well, it's a quality problem, I have to say, right?
High quality problem.
Off and you got to figure out.
Yeah.
It's a quality problem. There's probably people who need to focus on optimization because they're not succeeding as well as they would like to be succeeding. So there's a lot of drivers behind it. So it's interesting.
There are, it's interesting because when businesses come to work with our consulting firm, and if we talk about optimization up front, and I'll share what that means more in a moment here. So no, we got that. We want to know how to get more customers. We want to know how to get more leads. We want to solve a problem. And I just kind of laugh and think, I've done, as you know, through BBI, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of work of clients to work through the profit optimization elements of things, as well as our own firm. And we just begin to ask questions. I guess similar to what you do when you start talking to somebody, but yeah, I got the to-do list. I got David Allen's book and I'm doing all those things. And there's just so much more that needs to be done, right? There's an assumption that they get it. So we always begin to talk about this concept of profit optimization. And 98% of the cases, it's not an actual statistical number, but a huge percentage of those, there's enormous opportunity for an entrepreneurial business to generate significant amounts of cash from their business. And here's the key. Doing what they're already doing, right? Don't spend more money on marketing. Don't change your marketing. Don't hire more salespeople. Just do things a little bit better. And it's really the fast track to adding profitability.
It's crazy how much money people are leaving on the table, and they're like, we've got to put more money into marketing, right? But not more, just a little bit of money and a little bit of time and thought and effort into things that would save them so much more money that would drop to the bottom line. So it's kind of like, don't you want to optimize before you scale, right?
Yeah.
So that you can
scale better. It's more effective.
Scale better, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really a key because people come to me and say, I need to grow my business. Like on a hamster wheel. If I go back to your world, they're on a hamster world. They're really, really busy. And I'm thinking, well, I can help you solve that, along with the tools that, Penny, you teach and your folks teach, but I can help you solve it. And they say, what do you mean? I says, you're working a gazillion hours. You don't have any time for strategic thinking. You don't have any time to really plan out your business. You don't have time or the money to hire people, put the right technology in place. Just step back and eke out 20, 30, 40% more profitability from your business. You can take that and hire the best talent to free you up. You can get the best technology to free you up, and you can invest in the best marketing people versus you trying to figure it out for yourself. The money's there for the vast majority of businesses to take back their time that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I find it's also a focus shift. Like as I started to think more about, companies that caught up in growth, right? And that's their main focus. So they're like income driven, they're focused on marketing and new products and new customers, but they're not really paying attention to the profit side. So kind of growing, but not necessarily being profitable. And what's the point of that? I don't know. I mean, there is a point, I guess, if you're, different types of business models, but I've always been from, and that's why when we met and I was learning your principles, it so resonated with me because it's like, well, if you focus on profit, you're focused on like the return on investment, customer lifetime value, you're focused on optimization, and you just have a different, I think you said the questions, right? You're going to ask different questions. You're going to just approach your business in a different way.
It's interesting. So, one thing I did put on my resume was, I built a $1 billion valued company with my partner in 2000, and we were going public for $982 million. And, it was absolutely amazing. And I go, we're not worth $982 million. That was just crazy. The .com era, was just crazy. And, I thought to myself, wow. And then you watch the market crash. And why the market crash? Because nobody was focused on profits. All they cared about was drive up revenue. It was so bad. I had one of our vendors contact me and say, give me a check for $500,000 the couple days before the quarter close to buy software. I go, I don't buy your software. He goes, I know. Just give it to me anyway. And then I'll give it to you back the day after the quarter so he could record the revenue.
Oh, right. Wow.
To meet their numbers. That's how crazy it was. So I saw that and I thought, what really matters other than profitability? And like you said earlier, if you can drive up your profitability, then you have more money to invest in marketing, you have more money to scale. Why go and run new marketing campaigns? You're only going to get a conversion of X when you could drive down that marketing cost, drive down that acquisition cost. It's a bit crazy.
So how does that change the questions that you ask, right? Having this filter of optimization, profit, what's like one of the core questions that you ask to get people, to shift into the right mindset and focus on the right areas?
It's interesting, and I'll apply it to business and I'll apply it to personal because I have these things called drivers, like I have profit drivers for business. I have relationship drivers for relationship, team building drivers, value drivers for the businesses that we're looking to help increase the value of their company. And it's all about, there's always around 5 or 6 or 7 things that if you can just identify those, think of them as steps in your process of getting better. And so in business, you generate leads and then, people would look and say, well, I generate leads and I convert this many to customers. I said, but what about all the steps in between? What about all the steps in between? How many of those leads that came in did you get on the phone? How many of those people did they come to your website? How many people came to your website, filled out a form? How many that filled out a form did you actually ever speak with? And what ends up, so I just began asking those questions. And the answer, by the way, is a resounding, I don't know.
I don't know, right? I don't know. Isn't that insane? I don't know. How can you optimize a business if you don't know the steps of conversion or the steps of the process?
It's the same thing if you apply this to, one of the things that, I'm working on in my new book I'm working on is about really how you optimize as an entrepreneur in all areas. And so when you begin looking at your team, if you can't identify the 5 or 7 team drivers, the things that are really, what about your culture? What about your hiring process? What about, how long do you leave new hires in place that aren't performing, that are costing you a lot of money? There's just a handful of things. What are you doing about compensation and motivation? and learning. Once you identify those things and you can break them into small little steps, and this is the whole key of everything that we do. It's the whole thing of optimization is they're small little steps. They're relatively easy to do. And you make incremental improvements, but they stack one on top of another. Mm-hmm. Until you finally have a result you never thought possible. And that's really the premise of what we do. It's what we do in our consulting companies, what we do with our clients, whether or not we're dealing with profit optimization, or we're dealing with a problem culture, or we're dealing with, that they need to reinvent themselves or pivot in the marketplace. It's all about looking at what are the small steps, because quite honestly, Penny, the issue is, we learn all these big things. We learn about, we now do this whole social media initiative. We have to create this whole marketing campaign, and it's hard, and we don't know how to do it. And we fumble because it's difficult to do when the small incremental things will give you predictable outcomes. It may not give you the big bang. Mm-hmm. I always say, if you use baseball theory, you don't win games trying to hit a home run every time.
Absolutely. Predictable outcomes. That's what we would bet on. If I had to go and put money on something, right, I'm going to put it on the predictable outcome.
Yeah, before, Jay Conrad Levittson, the guerrilla marketing genius, before he passed away, him and I were doing a book, and it was going to be called Predictable Marketing. He really loved it because, it's really what it comes down to. I think we all want a little bit more predictability in our lives, right?
Yeah. I mean, we have to have that balance, right? Some predictability, but also some opportunity to stretch beyond.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the questions that I ask every guest, and, I'm interested from your perspective, is what's your definition of productivity and why?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, productivity is getting things done that need to be done. And so that's the most important thing. So I'll tie this back in, but what we do in our coaching world is we have clients create quarterly plans, and they can only have 3 initiatives, not 4, not 5, not 6, 3. Where do you want to be by the end of the quarter? 9/30 of whatever date that is. And so it keeps them focused on the things that really matter, because once they say, here's really where I want to be, the 10s of one, the other person you interviewed spoke about making things a 10, which I really, really liked. These are the must-haves, the must-dos. Right. We have them label those things out, and then we have them create. There's 13 weeks in every quarter. We have them lay out over 13 weeks just what needs to get done, not a detailed plan. It's all on a sheet of paper. It's just, here are the milestones, because then you can look and say, did I get that done this week or not? If you didn't, you're not moving the marbles forward, as they say in Chinese checkers, to get to your goal. So to me, it's about making sure we're doing those things that are important. They're going to take us to the goal we want to achieve. That's how I would define it. And I, like most everybody, it's really easy to start wiping out your emails and cleaning them all up, because it feels really, really good to get them off the list. Right. Not going to move those initiatives forward, to ultimately achieve those.
Not going to make progress towards your goals, right? I know I've worked with this one CEO who said he spent 70% of his time in his email. I'm like, just through a few questions, he realized, okay, this isn't really productive, is it? And I'm like, no.
No, it's funny. My wife gets mad at me all the time because I think she's you didn't see that on Facebook? I says, no. Why don't you check your text? I said, you want to get a hold of me, send me an email. That's the thing I'm the most focused on, because, and she said, why? I go, what? I can't have ding, 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 ding. Every time's a pattern interrupt, right? Every time takes you away from your focus. So some people may think that's not good, but, from my perspective, it is, I just have too many distractions. I have to simplify those things so I can stay focused on the outcome. Let my staff take care of the Facebook stuff. Let my tax take care of the LinkedIn stuff, and stay focused on the things that I want to focus on. And 70% or 80% on email, that's not productive.
No. Well, and you focus on the items that come in that are most important to you. A lot of people have an administrative assistant that will filter them out, or other types of automated systems that filter things out. I definitely have all my notifications off. It's a push-pull question, right? Do we really need to be in an environment where everything is pushed to us, versus I'll pull it when I need it, right? So wherever it sits, reduce the number of places that I have to pull from, and then use the pull system, not the push system.
Yeah, no, I love it.
So that's great. That's your definition of productivity. So tell us, you talked about, the profit drivers, and you talked about, your new book that you're working on that talks about profitability, but then moves into team building.
Yeah. I'm still working on a final title. Somebody who's working with me that wants me to call it something I don't want to call it yet. We'll test market that. The general concept, again, is that, we as entrepreneurs, yes, we want to focus on profitability, but, I will tell you that the vast majority of entrepreneurs that come to us initially aren't saying, I want to make more money per se. They do. They want to take back their lives. They want to be able to free themselves up to travel and do other things that they want to do. They want to improve and grow as a leader. And, you just can't do those things if you can't take back time, as you well know. And if you don't have the profitability to do them, you are literally stuck. And so it's a matter of saying, how can we make it real simple to build better teams, have better financials, to get those key metrics we just talked about without it being a giant project? You just pull from what you already have so you can even do best guesstimates. And that's really what it's all about. I don't want to use the word easy because everything takes effort, but it certainly is a simple approach that can produce enormous benefits and really move an entrepreneur to becoming kind of the ultimate entrepreneur and building a great company.
So let's talk about metrics for a minute. I think it's important because you talk about drivers, right? And I like that word because we're talking about the things that move the needle. At least that's the way I define drivers. Is that the way you define it as well?
Absolutely.
So when we talk about metrics, sometimes metrics are lag indicators and not the drivers. How would you share with the audience here, which metrics are drivers and are lead indicators versus lag indicators that you only know the result after?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And, that's why, the difference between an accountant, a CPA, and a finance person is CPA looks backwards and the finance person looks forward, right? That's one of the big differences. When you're getting a P&L from the last quarter, that's nice. But if COVID just hit, the recession just hit, and you're looking forward, it's not a very good indicator going forward. Right. So we want to have baseline metrics that say, here's where we've been. Those historical references and just historical baselines are very, very important. Then we want to pivot. And this is why it's so important to look at things quarterly. Part of our quarterly process is, where do we want to be in revenue and profitability at the end of the quarter? Here's a game plan to get there. And in that game plan to get there will be the defined metrics that you need in order to be able to see where you're going, right? Because if you can't look at those metrics, or key performance indicators, if you will, for those that use different words, you're tracking the wrong thing. And when you say, well, what specifically are they? It's different for every single business, and it depends on what you're doing. But it is key that the best you can with the knowledge that you have, that whatever you're setting in motion, you're looking at things that are going to get you there predictably. Like, I did a sprint triathlon 2 years ago, and, you swim and you have to bike and you have to run, which I hated running. And, every day I didn't look and say, how much did I run before? I said, here's where I need to get to before the race. How much do I need to run this week? How much do I need to bike this week? How much do I need to swim this week to know that I'm moving forward to get there? So it's a difficult question. Probably feel like I'm kind of dancing around this. I don't mean to.
So for people who are listening. So, right. It's a great example because it's not business related and people can get that you can apply metrics to anything, right? So you're simply starting with the end in mind and you're working way backwards and you're identifying how much time for you in terms of swimming, running and so forth, do you need to spend in each of those to be building the capacity to be able to do the end result, right? So time is one of those efforts as to how much time you're spending.
Yeah, exactly. And when you say run, by the way, you have to have a grimace on your face because I don't like to run.
Okay. I know. I hate running. I know. I'm the same. Like I like biking. That's my thing. But running, no. Awesome. Well, you shared a lot of really, great points today, talking about 3 initiatives and focusing on the things that really matter, really focusing on the drivers and a number of other things that we started out with in the beginning about, taking those small steps. What didn't I ask you that you're like, you know what? I would be remiss if I left without sharing this lesson or this principle?
It's interesting. I think we covered it. My response would be for everybody, whether or not you you own a business, you're an executive, you are an individual, that works in any industry whatsoever, is I really encourage you to take part of the message that I'm sharing with and be able to apply it to virtually anything you do. When I was having a team meeting, my VP, Craig, who used to work at BVI, he said to me, Scott, he goes, what you do is universal. What you do applies to every aspect of life, because if we can really say, I want to get better, I want to be a better time manager, I want to apply the things I'm learning on Penny on your show, it is that just break it down. So I'm reiterating what I said before, but just break it down into small chunks. I'm a believer that if you break it down into small chunks, you'll achieve that result. It's like, if you want to be a better husband, plan one more date night, or, plan it on your calendar. From a guy's perspective, on the calendar, you're putting down to do something special for your loved one. If it's about kids, it's about just putting, tracking, saying, I just spend a little bit more time with them in these different areas, I'm ultimately going to create a relationship I would never have otherwise. And that, again, doing things that are big, giant moves, which applies to, we all want that, right? We all want this big old giant win, is the difficult way. And I'm not saying those things aren't great as well, but in the meantime, let's not miss the small things along the way and the things you can improve in a predictable way with very little effort, just by being conscious of it.
Yeah. And just bringing it back to your own language, right? So date night or special times out. So the driver is quality time, right? Because I'm about, I talk about 80-20 thinking, right? To be able to find the 20% that gives us 80% of the results. And that's really being clear on what's that driver and how to give that its attention. And I love what you're saying. Strategies are cross-contextual. So you can use that in every area of your life.
Yeah. Yes. It's important. It's important. I think we all want to make more money for business. We want to be better people, I would like to think, and we want to be better leaders and create more opportunity for the people that are in our world. So
absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. What's a good site for them to go to? We'll have it in the show notes and everything. And I know you a gift for everybody. So tell us the site to.
You can just go make it real easy. Just go to Scott Hallman. So ScottHallman.com, kind of cruise around there. If you want to set up a 15-minute call with us to talk about, any aspects of your business. This is business specific site. Feel free to do so. I encourage that. And the gift I want to give is I wrote a book called Hypergrowth. It's really kind of cool. I interviewed 12 entrepreneurs that have been on the Inc. 500 list 3 times or more. In other words, they sustained their success over time. The fastest privately held companies in America. It was unbelievable how many inquiries we got. And I was actually able to, these 12 businesses are from 12 completely different industries, from super technical online to offline as well. So I will give that a copy of that digitally for you for free. There'll be a link you provide, I guess, Penny. And whether you're a business person or not a business person, you pick up a lot of the drivers and the concepts we shared today in the book.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I can tell you guys, you got to sign up and get this, because it's plain English. What I know from you, Scott, is it's easy to understand. It's plain English, and it's absolutely gold to be implementing that in your business and in your life.
Excellent.
So thank you all for being here. My name is Penny Zenker, and I'm going to see you in the next episode. Take care. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.